Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of Tosh Talks. My name is Tosh, and I'm the main book buyer at Book Soup on West Hollywood, California. And if we need any information about Book Soup, we have a website, www.booksoup.com, which we also have a blog where we do a lot of reviews and stuff. And today, I want to talk about Christian Marclay. I am very, very interested in this book. It's sort of it's sort of a book that lives on and on and on with me. And what it is, the book is called Festival, Issues 1 through 3, Christian Marclay. And Christian Marclay is an artist, a visual artist, but also uses music in his artwork. He actually makes sculptures out of vinyl records. And what he does is he takes a record, cuts it up, uses other pieces of vinyl, tapes it back together, makes a beautiful piece, and then he plays the record on a turntable. So he's a turntablist slash DJ slash visual artist slash sculpture slash performance artist of sorts. And he just had a retrospective at the Whitney Museum in Manhattan last year. And this catalog comes in 3 books, 3 little magazine journals, and it's kind of interesting since the nature of the exhibit is ongoing at the time. Where, for instance, he had a series of shows. Excuse me. He had a series of performances as well as a standing exhibit, but he also had pieces that were there just for a part of the time, not for the whole 2 months of the entire show. So they did 3 issues. Issue 1, which came out in the first part of the show, like the first couple of weeks of the show. Issue 2, which came out in the middle of the show. And then towards the end of the show, like the last week or so, issue 3. And issue 1 consists of basically who Christian Marclay is and what he does. It shows the examples of his artwork. I'm trying to find a sample of his recording right now, his records, but here's some of his records, like a record piece where he actually had people walk onto the records and record the sound the way it sounds. And he also, this is how, you can't really see this, but this is sort of the cut up when he makes a record and he puts the vinyl together, like colored vinyl together. And I love the music he makes. And he doesn't compose the music, basically it's all found music. He takes various records and he puts it together and it makes one exciting, interesting soundtrack. And one of the pieces he did was something called graffiti composition, which is actually interesting. What he did, he went in Berlin, he made music sheets, like regular music sheets, and put it on billboards everywhere. And even by, here's another example. And and here's right by the urinal, because when you pee, you always want to write something on the walls. And what he did was he put these music sheets up, and of course people graffitied them and wrote stuff in them and did their own music on them. So what he did was he collected them after a month. He took all the music sheets back, and then he had musicians perform what's on the music sheets. So, of course, this is totally, individual musicians interpret what they see on the music sheets, but they do their own version of what they read. And this one is called The Sounds of Christmas, this particular exhibit he did. Christian Marclay collects Christmas records. And he has over 1,000, 1,300 Christmas albums. So you go to a room, and it looks like a record store. That's all his record collection of Christmas records, recordings. He has a DJ there. The DJ does a DJ mix, like a live mix, but the source is always these specific Christmas albums. And whenever he does a show anywhere, or when he does a museum show, he always brings his Christmas record collection, sets it up like a record store, and then have a DJ there play the records. And they can do anything they want. They can mesh it up, they can sample it, they can just play a whole album, one side by one side. But the theme is, the main source, it always has to be the Christmas albums. And Chris McClay sort of made his own music, but he also started working with other musicians, like John Zorn, for instance. So Christopher McClay is very much part of that whole Manhattan 1979, 1980 free music, punk rock, jazz, no wave thing that was happening. He's very much part of that generation and that group of people. And what's interesting to me, again, is that he uses music as sort of like a sculpture piece. And when you hear it, it's music, but it's cut up. But you can actually visualize it in a way. And he's really, really a remarkable artist. And the way he uses other composers, the way he uses other people. And he also did a thing where he uses a chalkboard. He built a whole room. He built a whole room that's a chalkboard. And he invited people to come in to write whatever they want on the chalkboard: graffiti, music notes, little messages. And then sometime during that day, he would invite musicians to come by this room, and again, the musicians would interpret what's on the chalkboard. Now, of course, it's not real music. I mean, it's not music notes per se, but it's like it could be a phrase, or it could be a symbol, or it could be a face, or anything. And the musicians will convey what they see on the chalkboard as music. They do this whole improvise of what they see, and then they make noise out of it, or music out of it. And another great piece that he did was a manga scroll, which is he took like manga, Japanese manga, which is the Japanese comic book, and he cut it up and made a piece out of it. So he has like a physical piece like this. And what happens is that he has a musician interpret what they see here, and they make a music out of it with their instruments of any sort. It's very interesting how he works. And actually, right now, I'd like to actually play a piece of his. If you excuse me 1 second, be right back. Just stay where the camera is. This is his take on Strauss from one of his albums.